Okay, so we're sitting here with Ken Greenwood, and he's a recruiter who's seems to be a pretty ace recruiter. Working for himself, living a life. He's at work right now.
Cheers.
here at Shea Casa Ken, and so why don't you just tell me a little bit about what a recruiter does, or what you do as a recruiter.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm an outside recruiter, so it's not like I work in human resources. I basically am contracted out by law firms because that's my niche of an area of specialty, and then within the niche within the niche is that I recruit legal business development and marketing and communications people. So I've made a determination that specializing is the way to go because people respect you more, at least from the candidate standpoint. I guess the clients too. Everyone, you have such a specialization that you know every nuance of that particular business. Therefore, you get more ears. People have limited time in a stressful environment, and they don't want to talk to someone who doesn't really know what they're talking about themselves in a complete way. And so it's I recruit in that area for the whole, as many law firms as I can.
How do you start the process of looking for these people? Where do you look? How do you? I mean, do you like start by looking? You have like a lot of people you've dealt with in the past, so you kind of know where to find them, or you just got a fishing hole you know about, where there's lots of.
It all depends on where it starts. It can start in one or two different directions. For example, I could have a client that I either call and say, "Hey, I just saw you have an opening, and I think I could help. Let me work it." And they'll say, "Great, okay, go ahead and do it." And then we speak to each other. They give me every detail of what the position entails and who they're looking for, the personality of the firm and the personality of the partners and the personality of the team, so I can get a real feel for who's going to fit best, right? And then they'll give me like the bullet-pointed job description that everyone's seen those, and so I'll have that to work with. And then I go out and I find people. Now, if you're starting from absolute scratch, the way I did it was you start with LinkedIn and you put every single person that you possibly can find into your own database. And if you have a strong database system, which is the foundation of what I do, so you have to have a good database. And there are lots of bad ones. I mean, they're all good, but you have to have one that really works for you. And I think I finally found one.
So when you're like talking about a database, you're talking about not something you've built, but something you found elsewhere?
Well, I subscribe to the database, but they're always working on it and updating it, improving it. It's not off the shelf. But this particular one fits hand in glove because of its search capabilities. So it's garbage in, garbage out. Whatever information I put in there, more specific, and in the right places I put it, the faster I'll come up with the right people. So if I run a search, and we'll say that patent litigation person, and let's just say that they want someone at the senior manager level, well, I can narrow my fields down to the point where I have, let's say it's in New York City, let's say it's in Washington, D.C. So I can then, let's say it's like I work in so many different cities. So I can first say, all right, this is the city that I want, and it narrows it. All right, this is the level that I want, narrows it. This is the specialty that I want, narrows it. All right, now, if you haven't spoken to everyone yet, you really may not know what they do. So a lot of them are just going to be like, I wonder what they do, and you have to call them. And so much of what you do is calling, is phoning people, introducing yourself, getting the basic information so you can populate your database. It takes years. I mean, it takes years to get good at this. So your first year, you might be mildly successful. No, you probably won't be successful at all. Second year, you'll be happy with your success, but still lots of improvement. And then every year after that, hopefully it just gets that much easier and better. And you know more people, so it's not just looking into a database. It's remembering who's there. You've spoken to them 25 times over the course of 6 years, or maybe you've spoken 8 times over 6 years. You're like, yeah, I definitely want to call that person. But you can't remember everyone, especially I can't.
So you kind of have a farm team.
Yeah, I have a farm team, I know, and then they're like, oh, Ken, it's great to hear from you. At first it's a little tough, you know, they're like, who are you? Why are you interrupting my day? So you have to have a bit of a personality in order to sort of keep them entertained a little bit, and, you know, and then, you know, couple that with some knowledge, some industry knowledge that they can trust you, and, yeah, so anyway, so that's how I would search. But then let's just say that along the way, you talk to someone and they're not right for that position, but they're amazing. Let's just say that, you know, they graduated from Harvard, went to Yale Law School, then, or let's say they got their MBA from Wharton, and they've worked at 2 or 3 of the best organizations out there, and they say, and they're really nice, and you like them, and they say, listen, I'm leaving, I want to get out of here, can you help me find a place? Oh, well, then what do? You could keep working the position that you were working and try to find someone, or you could turn it around and say, anyone's going to want this person.
I've got this guy.
I've got this guy. So then you just, all right, let me take a little vacation from that and let me call some clients that I know that do this particular work that this person did. Because maybe they don't do litigation at all. Maybe they do, you know, corporate M&A and capital markets and private equity. So they do that. And you're like, well, I know lots of firms that do that, you know? So you pick up the phone, you call your top 10, and you'd be like, listen, I've got the top credentialed person you'll ever find, you know, and they really want to make a switch. Do you want to see them? Maybe you get 2 or 3 interviews for them. And boom, they're off to the races there, and then you go back to your search. So it's constant, it's a kaleidoscope.
Lifeline.
I will not advertise, because you advertise, you wind up with 98% of people that are just like, I could do that, you know.
Yeah.
But as a recruiter, we're not paid to find good people. We're paid to find the best people that are eminently qualified,
Right.
you know, that do exactly
What your client wants.
what your client needs. They need aviation, you know, transactions of selling airplanes, that you have to find them someone who sells airplanes, not any other vehicle, airplanes. Exactly. So what are the odds that you're going to advertise and find someone?
Right, exactly.
Pretty nil.
So yeah, even with all of your narrowing, you spend a lot of time like looking at resumes, or you're supposed to just see somebody who fits the profile and just get on the phone and call them?
Because I don't advertise, so it's not like people are sending me resumes. I'm not looking at, the only people that know me are the people that I contacted. All right, and I contact them through LinkedIn. And if they have a LinkedIn profile, if you've ever looked at a LinkedIn profile, okay. Some people will have all their dates of employment and who they worked for, and then huge, just like a resume, right? And then other people, a lot of people, just will have dates and who I worked for. So I know they may be working for Sullivan and Cromwell, and they've been working there for 3 years, but I have no idea if they're in mergers and acquisitions, or they're in litigation, or they're in Latin American markets. So, or maybe they're in trust and estates. You know, I have no idea. So I have to call them. And then when you call someone and you start talking to them, come on, you're a verbose guy too. You can talk to someone for half an hour, 45 minutes, but you get a lot of great information. You really, and then you make sure that you plug the information in the right holes. So that way, when I'm looking and I know that they have this specialty and these 3 subspecialties, and I put them all in the right columns, right? So when I look at everyone stacked up against each other, I could be like, that's the one I want right there. And that way I know who to call fastest and first.
So how do you know when you found the right one? I mean, what's the bell that goes off in your head? I mean, they passed all your...
Hold on, let me close my door.
Yeah.
No. I mean, first of all, sometimes people, because again, I am interested, the people that are the smartest, the most dynamic, the most passionate about what they do, and, there's just to me, it's easy to figure out who they are. I mean, you could talk to someone on the phone, and they may do all the right things, but they have a hard time putting their sentences together. They can't really recount what they've done so quickly. They seem to, they're not as impressive as the person that's like laser, right? I want the laser person. So I'll put in my notes sometimes. I'll have like because I type like 80 words a minute.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that is what I will tell everybody. Almost like learn to type fast. Seriously, the best skill.
We're all in an online graduate program. We type a lot.
Dude, I mean, here's what I did. Okay, here's a little digression. When I graduated from law school, and I was taking the bar, I needed, and it was a summer job. I worked as a TTY operator. All right, and you know what a TTY is? Yeah. And because I could type pretty fast, but I couldn't type that fast. Well, I worked there for like 4 months, and I got my speed up to like 80 words a minute. I was like conversation speed, the best job I think I ever had in my entire life, because now I talk to a candidate, I don't have to summarize. I get it all. Now it's a little bit hard sometimes when I'm like trying to get to the right information, and I'm like, sometimes people ramble. So I'm like, that could be, but I got it all. I mean, it's in there somewhere, it's like, so I will then summarize someone like at the top and be like, this is what I think of them. And so how do I know who's the right person? Like, how do I know? You never really know until they've interviewed. So if I send 3 people and I get the feedback, the one that's jumping up and down and saying, my gosh, did we have such an amazing connection. Like, that was so incredible, the best interview. Like, I think that's the one. But I do have gut feelings before I go in. And I'm oftentimes right, because you can match up the personality that the firm's looking for, and if you know their department well enough and who would fit well. And then you also understand how sharp someone is, and how just people like nice people, and people like the good ones. So you can have like someone who chews glass, and I see a lot of those, and you're like, they're probably not going to play well in the sandbox. They probably check off all the boxes, but
fit.
Yeah. Like,
as long as they're going to fit the culture.
So sometimes you just know it. You have, and then you look at their. Sorry about this, but it's true in this world. Sometimes you just look at a picture, and you're just sort of like, whoa. That comes out of either a GQ catalog, or that comes out of like, a modeling catalog. So if you have the brains and the personality and the look, and sometimes it's just a real professional look. It doesn't have to be just beauty. It's just sort of like they just have that look, and you get it all, and then you're just like, I think this person's going to be it. And a lot of times you're right. And a lot of times you're just so off the mark you have no idea. If you have to sell someone on it, it's already over. Once you start selling, in this business, if you have to emphasize and this is why you should go and whatever, it's your reputation's already shot, because everyone wants to be treated with respect and no one wants to be sold. You display it.
So most of the people that you're talking to, there are a lot of them already have jobs.
They all have jobs.
Yeah,
there isn't a single person that I'm working with. Usually, there's always an extraneous circumstance. Like there's someone I'm working with right now that that they gave notice to their firm, and the person just took 3 months off. They knew they wanted to leave, and they were begged not to leave. And like the managing partner said, please don't leave, and if you do, I'll give you a great reference. So I'm working with this person right now who's in late rounds of interviews. Every now and then you'll have someone like that, but generally speaking, firms pay a fee for you snagging someone from somewhere else. Yeah. So pretty much 99.9% of the people I work with are currently sitting at somebody else's desk.
So one last question, just for this audience of budding entrepreneurs.
Right.
What is the number one thing you would say? You guys are out trying to recruit for your new businesses, and what's the number one thing we should be looking for when we're out recruiting?
To me, it's an obvious choice. Who's got the passion? Okay. But anyone can do a job, let's just say that you don't have a job and you need one badly and you get hired and so you feel really fortunate all right? And now let's just say you're doing ledgers. You're doing ledger work, all right? Something that you probably know how to do. And let's just say that's not really your favorite. You know how to do it, but you're doing a general ledger, right? And and you're so grateful to get the job, but after a while, it's a paycheck. And you'll do it to the best of your ability, but it's not something you're going the extra mile for. All right? When times get tough, who's going to be staying over the weekend to make sure it's done? Or who's going to be doing customer, what happens in any business, things go wrong. And so who's going to make sure that that client is happy? Or who is going to make sure that the work gets done, whatever it is. So the person you want is going to have that electricity, that bounce in their step. That person that's like in my business, if I were to interview someone, so if anyone out there has recruiting experience,
Right.
like I say, like, how do you feel like when you pick up the phone and you call someone for the very first time, you interrupt them during their busy day, and you say, hey, my name is so-and-so, and I'm a recruiter, and I'd love to talk to you for a little while, or whatever you say. You want the person that's going to be like, yeah, I love doing that. There are a lot of people that might be really scared of it, but they'll do it. So be honest with when you're interviewing them for what the job is truly going to be. Number one, of course, there's so many different factors. How intelligent are they? How intelligent do you need them to be? It's like certain things, if you have a landscaping business, you need someone who has intelligence with landscaping, but you don't need them to, tell you about the French Revolution, right? So, but above and beyond all that, it's who gets into it most. Like I was saying, like, who are my A candidates? The ones that love it. The ones that love what they do. Some people, it's their job. They've done it for so long. It's sort of like, what the hell else am I going to do? Let's just ride this out. I feel bad for them. Shoot, half the time that's me. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's it. Find someone that's got the passion, and that's going to be innate. It's not going to be something that you're going to be able to see on a resume. Chances are, after 3 or 6 months, they're going to learn it anyway.
Right. Well, thanks very much, Ken.
Cheers. Glad to be of help.